Seguimos en el Mobile World Congress 2014, cubriendo el sector de las telecomunicaciones, y esta vez estamos cubriendo el tema del backhaul en las redes móviles para saber un poco algunos de los retos que van a tener los operadores con respecto al HetNet, el despliegue de small cells en la red. Contamos con Shai de la empresa Ceragon y con Cheyenne de la empresa Blue One, no confundir, y vamos a hablar en inglés con ellos. Shai, Cheyenne, welcome to Dimensionando. Thank you so much for being here. Almost done with the show, which is, I guess, good news, depending on how the show went for you guys, but you look kind of happy with the show. So let's discuss backhaul for LTE, small cells, the HetNet, which is a main theme at this show because the backhaul is a key component of operators' network in terms of not just providing the services, but to make sure that this backhaul is cost effective. And obviously microwave will play a role. First question for you would be just to give me a very brief description of what you think are the key issues operators need to consider when backhauling small cells. Shai, you want to start and leave something for Cheyenne?
Yeah, of course. I think basically what we're looking at when we talk about small cells is it's the expansion or the next phase of networks, meaning bringing more capacity over the dense urban environment for subscribers to use. So that's the next challenge of operators. We have the macro cell coverage there. Now we need to expand further. Now when you look at adding more capacity into a region or a
where
city,
they already have,
where you already have coverage, but it's not sufficient. You need to address different issues from a network perspective, how you bring that capacity over to that area. So you want to reduce interference, for example, in order to be able to increase capacity. You want to have very high capacity in those areas, and you want to make sure that the quality of service for the different SLA can be supported in those areas. So that brings about different models of deployments. Of course, there's no one size fits all. So there are different aspects of this. If I summarize our take on this, bring more capacity, solve the interference issues in the area, or reduce interferences, that way increase capacity and reduce latency and quality of service.
Cheyenne, anything to add?
I think that Shai's covered definitely a lot of the technical aspects of what needs to be done to support HetNets from a backhaul perspective. I think the only thing that I would kind of add is that one of the biggest challenges that we see for the deployment of heterogeneous networks is around controlling the total cost of ownership of that deployment. As your networks densify, one of the things that we have to take into account is factors like site acquisition, the ability to control the OpEx on the backhaul side. So one of the challenges that we see is, how many locations, how much real estate is available, what's your time to market to deploy, in essence, capacity that's urgently needed in the network because it is now a hotspot. So I think that one of the views that summarizes what we focus on at Blue One is how do we not only just deliver the capacity, and we look at it more from a gigabits per square kilometer equation rather than just a link by link situation. But also how do we do it in such a way that the OpEx is completely managed and under the control of the operator.
Now that you mentioned the acquisition costs or the difficulty that operators may have to find places where to put different infrastructure and antennas to have the backhaul in, as you were saying, or we were commenting on the dense urban areas where they already have a microcell, there is a debate on line of sight microwave versus non-line of sight microwave. Obviously, as we mentioned at the beginning, we are with two providers that defend kind of the line of sight scenario, so we don't have anybody to comment on the other side. But from your perspective, tell us a little bit more on this debate between line of sight deployments of backhaul for these dense areas versus non-line of sight, given the challenges that these dense urban areas present for the deployment of small cells. Let's give it first to Cheyenne, and then we'll do to Shai to keep kind of an order.
Okay,
Sounds
sure.
fair?
No problem. So I think that there's a place for a lot of associations will talk about the small cell backhaul toolkit. I think that Shai was alluding to that it's not a single silver bullet to solve every particular HetNet problem, right? It's an unrealistic expectation from the industry to do that. I think I'm going to focus on a couple of the challenges that NLoS presents in providing mobile backhaul. The first thing is that we're operating in what I call, or a lot of people call, beachfront spectrum property. This is expensive spectrum. This is spectrum that is probably best put to use for access scenarios. Part of the HetNet problem is around interference management and creating smaller cells. Because of the lack of spectrum availability, you can power down the cell to provide capacity to less users, but more frequently. If you're going to start wasting, and I call it wasting, sub-6 spectrum for backhaul scenarios, what else do you have left on the radio access network? Now, some of the things that we're looking at obviously is how does millimeter wave play a role in the next access networks. We did a panel on Monday on the future of access networks, and I think that millimeter wave will play an evolved role compared to what it's playing today just on the backhaul end. But I think that our single biggest concern about sub-6 is it's a tactical play right now. It's easy to roll out, relatively easy to roll out. The induced capacity is insufficient, I think, for the massively dense networks that we're about to see coming our way. And interference is a key issue. Best to protect that spectrum at the radio access network level.
Shai?
Sure, I think Shan touched many of the points. Just to add to that, when you look at the small cells challenge of operators, and acknowledging that there's no one-size-fits-all. Of course, sub-6 provides a good solution for the midterm, providing capacity there in an easy-to-roll-out fashion, whereas you don't need to coordinate frequencies, but you are prone to more interferences as time goes by, as the city intensifies in terms of more hotspots, more small cells coming to the arena. That's why in Ceragon what we do is we focus on a lot of efforts and releasing, and we've released an E-band product this week, which supports capabilities for high-capacity backhaul in the small cells arena. Not only that, we are demonstrating the solution over traditional or low frequencies for wireless backhaul in 6 up to 42 gigahertz, providing CPRI connectivity for HetNets in a distributed CRAN, cloud radio access network model, where you can actually provide much more capacity to each and every site location in a way that you simplify your network. In other words, you deploy remote radio heads, you provide a very high capacity link in a simplified model which just takes care of connectivity, and thereby you have a very interesting and very cost-effective way of solving the problem by reducing the amount of equipment you have in each site, increasing capacity availability, reducing interferences because you have that model of coordinated approach for the small cells area.
Now that you brought the CRAN, or the front, I don't know if you call that front haul as well, can microwave, because usually what I'm hearing with the front haul or the CRAN is that it's a great solution, but typically the operator is going to have fiber. Is there any way, and you guys are radio experts, that at some point radios will be able to do the job fiber needs to do in the front haul, thus making sure that the CRAN is something for, not just for elite operators, so to speak, that have these kind of fiber assets? Shai, now let's start with you.
The CRAN model, or the HetNet model, going for a cloud radio access network, has actually two approaches there which complement each other. We have the, let's call it the mini CRAN model, where you extend your existing networks in a way that provides you just a very simple approach for extending or expanding your network for small cells by adding more baseband modules in the existing sites, spreading out remote radio heads in a way that, in a very smooth way provides you with this extension of small cells. Do that, and again, we have this debate in the industry of fiber and microwave. Yeah. It goes on forever. Basically, I think the market has said its worth. Both complement each other. And what happens in this case, no, fiber is still not available everywhere. There will be many cases it will not be available everywhere. And if you look even at the way cities are built, you have those spread buildings across the city where basically fiber is not addressing these areas because simply you will not trench those in every location. So wireless provides you with just exact fit for those places where fiber is not available. And the market behavior is such that we see a large portion of the small cells deployment, again, as a vote by operators, going to wireless because it's faster and simpler to deploy. So having said that, in Ceragon we provide those radios for wireless front haul. We do that by providing several technologies. Actually, we do this in E-band, where many vendors are speaking of today. And that's a great solution for the metro area where you need short distances. Remember, those links need high availability because of the sensitivity of the signal that's passing. But basically, this is a simple connectivity of once what used to be a unified base station, which is spread. And what we do, we've released a product named IP20C, and that product provides you with CPRI connectivity in the lower frequencies, up to 42 gigahertz. That basically provides you the ability to use those frequencies for wireless fronthaul in a wider coverage area as you go to suburban and rural areas. Again, as a simple extension to your network, going into small cells in a different manner, which becomes widely acceptable. And we hear this a lot about the show today. And this week we see this from many operators coming in.
Cheyenne, any comments on C-RAN and backhauling?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, I mean, sort of supporting Shai's view that definitely there is a role for wireless to play in front haul and supporting the C-RAN requirements of low latency and very high throughputs at a short range that's reusable. I think that's absolutely plausible today. You don't have to wait. It can happen. It can happen right now. We take a different approach, though, in terms of supporting C-RAN requirements. We kind of try to, as a multi-point vendor in the millimeter wave space, what we do is we don't necessarily dedicate the capacity to a single endpoint, which is what you need in the CPRI requirements. Very high throughput, single endpoint, kind of like a substitute to a point-to-point fiber connection, right? As a multi-point solution, we are distributing capacity across a larger surface area from a single aggregation node. So we kind of view ourselves a bit more as an anchor point to provide capacity across a large surface area. So we're looking at it more as how do we emulate the advances that are happening in terms of the RAN layer and apply them to the backhaul using SDN and network function virtualization features, right? So essentially, we look at virtualizing parts of the backhaul to essentially control multiple base stations that are providing backhaul to C-RANs or RANs in the network, and essentially aggregating all the fiber capacity in one place, and essentially almost having a base station hotel that has all of the active components of the network inside one location, virtualizing the backhaul and controlling the capacity to multiple transmission hubs that provide backhaul to all the HetNets in a given area. The reason we're doing that is we see a future where fiber is definitely going to increase in penetration. There's a lot of investment happening, notably in the United States, in North America, and other parts of the world, and investing a lot of fiber. So rather than competing against fiber, we really want to complement it. We realize there'll be buildings that are interconnected by fiber or areas that are interconnected by fiber, and then we can transport radio frequencies over fiber. These are new developments happening called ROF, which allow us to then virtualize a lot of the functions on the cloud to control the bandwidth where and when it needs to go. So rather than focusing on front haul, we've taken an approach as a vendor to focus on backhaul virtualization.
Excellent.
Just want to add, maybe just to add to that, when we talk about
to the virtualization discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Front haul is one aspect of solutions that are available in the market, and as you mentioned, Ceragon is doing as well, providing a very innovative approach to front haul solutions. We do this also for the wider area coverage of C-RAN, and that's just another aspect. In addition to that, we believe that since there's no one-size-fits-all and there's a front haul model in place, which is favorable by many operators, there's still the other model which goes for I would call a packet backhaul solution for the small cells. So there again, 60 gigahertz, traditional bands, and E-band. This mixture altogether for line of sight, coping in a better way with a small cell challenge rather than the line of sight you mentioned before, provides an overall solution which benefits the customer.
Excellent. Well, I got the signal that we're running out of time. So Cheyenne, Shai, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of the show. It's just a few hours, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.